The health of a talking stage is revealed long before commitment ever comes up, and it has less to do with his words than you think.
Good thing I don't think.
So let's get into it. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Muslim Marriage Podcast, where we show you how to find and build a marriage that lasts as a Muslim. I'm Zahra Hassan.
And I'm AJ, and we've been married for 4.5 years.
And if you haven't already subscribed to our channel on YouTube, please do. It really helps us out. And let's get started.
Let's get started.
So this week's episode is entitled, The Real Sign Your Talking Stage is Healthy. If I were to pose that question to you back to when you were in talking stages, were you aware of whether or not a talking stage was healthy? And if so, how did you determine its health?
I basically worked off a combination of like a vibe-based coding as well as like logic processing. Essentially, if the vibes were off, I would be like, this is not working out. This is no bueno.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And if I used my logic, right, and realized that it was my fault that the vibes were off, I'd be like, let's try to repair myself. Try to fix this, you know.
So, what would make in terms of vibes? What would be considered good vibes, and what would be considered bad vibes?
For me, it was always consistency. Right? That was usually my gauge of whether a person was interested or not. Even if they have that superficial interest. Yeah. If they're not consistent in reaching out to you or consistent in conversing with you, then that sort of tells me, hey, these guys are not really interested. I'm more so like the back burner or the backup plan. Yeah. That's the vibe that I get.
Okay. Right? So you were gauging her level of commitment.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting because that's the way that a lot of us would gauge a talking stage. Is we're constantly assessing, does this person actually want to be with me, right? And the reason why that can be dangerous, definitely why I had so many stories about previous talking stages, is because commitment is not really determine why a person wants to actually be with you. There are a lot of people who want to marry you, be with you, but not for the most genuine of reasons. Yeah. Right? So, for instance, with respect to men looking for women, a common example would be a man who is, let's say, has a lot of money, right? Who is is financially desirable, has a status, or all of these superficial things. And he might come across a woman who all of those superficial things can be very important to her. So that woman will be super committed. Yeah. Right? She'll be showing up to work, she'll be clocking in, doing all of the things. Yeah. But you can see that her reasons for wanting to be committed are not genuine. So for that reason, commitment by itself, without evaluating why does this person want commitment, can take you down some difficult paths. Right? Yeah. So definitely that's the first half of the equation. So then that brings us back to the question, then what does determine the health of a talking stage? So after having coached since 2018, a lot of people, there are some patterns that I've noticed. And what I have found to determine the health of a talking stage is how you feel within it. Yeah. So the emotional environment that it creates within you. And if you've been listening to our podcast for some time, you'll notice that this is a common theme for both people who are single and people who are already married. That the emotional space between you and a partner, or between you and a potential partner, is everything. Right? Yeah. So if you are single, that emotional space between the two of you assessing that and assessing how you feel within that space is going to let you know whether or not the space is safe overall. And after you are married, maintaining that space between the two of you, keeping it nice, keeping it safe and welcoming between the two of you is going to determine whether or not the marriage lasts. Yeah. right? So you can see how one just flows into the other. So that emotional space between the two of you is what's critical. Other authors or thinkers or greats within this field have talked about similar concepts. Gottman, he talks about the sound relationship house, which describes this general emotional space between the two of you. I think her name is Susan Johnson, who talks from emotionally focused theory. He talks a lot about the emotional bond as the basis of a lot of the strategies and techniques. Emotionally focused therapy, not theory.
Mm-hmm.
So so this concept of assessing the emotional space, the quality of the emotional space between the two of you is very important and is a very, very valuable skill.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say the emotional space, this is just a term that I use in order to conceptualize it. What does that make sense? Like, can you tell me what that means to you?
Emotional space?
Mm-hmm.
It's the amount of space that I can reasonably take up without angering others.
Angering?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that is definitely one way. So I just put that into AI in order to come up with a definition, because I wanted to make sure this concept was as clear as possible. So it defines it as the environment where you can share your true feelings, thoughts, and vulnerabilities without fear of judgment. And I think that's a very good description of what it is that I'm trying to describe. It is it is not a real physical space. It is just the emotional space that exists between the two of you. Now, in order to understand it better, what we're going to do is that we're going to think of it as a literal space. We're going to spend the rest of this episode using the analogy of the guest house. And this is the analogy I use with my clients. I like it. And I think this works well. So we're going to use the analogy of the guest house to understand how different people or different types of people operate within this space, so that when you start to feel certain, when you start to assess the quality of the way that you feel within it, you'll be able to understand what are the intentions of this person that you're in the space with. Right? It'll give you some tools for how to analyze it properly.
Yes. Okay,
so in this analogy of the guest house, I want you to think of it as you and this potential partner, right, are walking up. Each of you have your luggage packed up, and you're walking up to this really big hotel, Airbnb, whatever, this staffed castle, palace, whatever it is, right? This staffed structure. It's a huge house, which it takes in guests. And you go up to the front reception desk, you let them know, they give you keys to 2 separate rooms, and you go to your 2 separate rooms.
Okay.
And you are now guests of this big guest house.
Yes.
Right? So this guest house is going to represent the emotional space between the two of you, and how they conduct themselves and allow you to conduct yourself within this guest house is going to be the analogy for how you feel within the emotional space.
Okay.
Having said that, we're going to go through 3 different types of potential partners and how they conduct themselves within this guest house.
Okay.
We're good so far?
When you said guest house, like instantly my mind goes to The Shining.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It can feel like that depending on who the partner is.
Especially if his name is Johnny. Ooh.
Okay. So now we're at the guest house. So let's go with partner number 1.
Okay.
Partner number 1. So partner number 1 goes to his room, you go to your room. And during your stay there, he doesn't really ask for room service. He doesn't really speak to the staff. He does his best to take up as little space as possible inside of this guest house. He doesn't really stretch out within it, right? And what's more is that whenever you are, having dinner together, like go down to the dining room, sitting in the sitting room, places where the two of you are together, He's taking up as little space as possible, not bothering the staff. And every time that you do ask for a waiter or you do ask for staff, he shoots you a look almost as if he's judging you. He's like, why do you feel so comfortable stretching out? I don't feel comfortable stretching out. You need to be as closed off as me. How dare you ask for things?
Yeah.
Right? So over time, you start to feel deeply unwelcome within this space because of the way that he's treated, because of the way that he is conducting himself within it and is judging you for conducting yourself within it. You start feeling like your emotional needs, like, so now we're back to the actual emotional space. Your emotional needs are too much when you are interacting with this individual, right? You hesitate before reaching out to them. You overanalyze your tone anytime you're speaking to them. And anytime that you are interacting with this person, you get the sense that you need to hold yourself back. You need to be as guarded as they are. Don't stretch out. And the overall sense is, honestly, just get out. That's the feeling you walk away with, that you are unwelcome, and get out. So this individual, and I would be someone who has avoidant attachment insecurity. So people who are avoidant attachment insecurity in general, and we're going to do an entire series on attachment style next quarter. But in general, people who have avoidant attachment insecurity, they are deeply uncomfortable with emotional intimacy, right? They grew up in an environment where the overall theme between them and their caregiver was somewhat neglect, at least emotional neglect.
Yeah.
So that whenever, as a child, they would ask for help, they were told to be quiet or they were ignored totally. So over time, they understood that if I ask for anything, it's not going to be addressed. Therefore, let me not ask for anything. And they teach themselves to not have emotional needs. They hold back on the emotional needs. And when they grow up and they get into relationships with other people, they continue holding back on their emotional needs, numbing them, pushing them away. And what's more, they judge you for having any emotional needs. They're like, how dare you? Why are you so weak? Right? Like, why are you so comfortable being vulnerable? They see having emotional needs as a weakness,
as a fault,
as something that is smothering and burdening, and they don't want to be smothered and burdened by them. So what they do is they keep minimizing, pushing away, and until you feel completely unwelcome, right? So that's the first guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna go with now guess number 2. So you walk in with your baggage, he walks in with his baggage, you go to the reception desk. And they give you a key to your room, and they give him a key to his room. And what does this guest, though, instead of staying in his room and coming out as like a normal guest, he immediately goes and joins the staff. He signs up and joins the staff, gets a job there working, and starts working, moving his way up the ladder.
Yeah.
And he takes on all assignments that are associated with your room. So for a normal guest, you reach out whenever you want something from room service. There's a certain schedule. There's an ebb and flow. You come down for breakfast, dinner, meal times, etc. That's what you're expecting to experience.
Yeah.
But what this individual does is, because he's now a staff member, he's constantly knocking on your door. Do you need anything? Do you need anything? Let me get you this. And whenever you say, yes, I do want something, they bring you the absolute best of it. So they bring you food that is overly expensive, that you cannot afford. But he says, don't worry about it. It's free. It's on the house. You become treated like absolute royalty.
That's terrifying.
Terrifying. Why?
Because I feel like that would be for me, it would be overbearing.
Yes. And what would be the thought in your mind?
Damn, this person really wants to marry me.
Okay.
There's something strange happening here.
Is that not a good thing?
No.
Why is it not a good thing?
Because if they're going to that extent, to try to get married to me, I feel like they're running away from something.
Okay. All right. So that might be part of the equation, but you're right to be suspicious, because what happens is that being treated like royalty is awesome. right? Being given the best food, being given the best activities, the best of everything, being so seen and validated and reassured far beyond anything that you're used to feels really, really good as a human being. This is why people do this, is because it works, right? And if this is the way it was just going to be forever, well, all well and good, right? But unfortunately, this never is all the way that it is forever. This is always temporary. Because this individual, as he works his way through the staff, he gets to a point where he now owns the house. He now owns the space between the two of you. And that's a problem.
Because the house always wins.
Yes. Because when he takes over the house and you have now become emotionally dependent upon the house, he now has a way to control you. And so you start finding yourself managing this person's reactions. Now, when we step back from the analogy of the house and we go back to the emotional safe space, or the emotional space in this case, what that looks like is that you find yourself starting to manage his reactions. You're worried about disappointing him. You're worried you start to watch the way in which you speak to him. You start to police yourself in how you interact with him, because you're always conscious that he might react negatively. And because you have become dependent upon this emotional space between the two of you, you don't want to anger him because he's the one who controls it.
Yeah.
It's his house.
Because he now owns the house, he has removed you from position of guest to position of employee without your approval.
Without you noticing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, it's worse than position of employee, because employees get paid.
Yeah.
Right? They get paid on a schedule. And he's not paying you on a schedule. He's paying you with intermittent reinforcement that is becoming...
you're an indentured worker.
Yeah. Because he's paying you intermittently and increasingly scarcely. So the identity of this this other person who was originally a guest and now owns the house is the manipulator or the narcissist, who, when you meet them on equal footing. When you first introduce yourself, or you get to a place where each of you becomes aware the other exists, and you enter a talking stage, that space between the two of you, you enter it as equals. However, because of the nature in which that he pays attention to you and does the love bombing and makes you feel like royalty, honestly, you become dependent on that emotional space between the two of you. And it feels really, really much better than it should. Because who doesn't want to be treated like royalty? Who doesn't want to be powerfully seen, validated, reassured, made to feel more special than you ever have in your life?
Yeah.
So you become emotionally dependent. And the moment you are emotionally dependent, you are no longer equals. He now owns this space. Yeah. And because he owns this space, it becomes a way of controlling you. So that's why that's how that interaction will go.
Yeah. It sounds like he's a drug dealer, right? And he's getting you hooked.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. In fact, there is an idea that people who are dealing with addictions, in the midst of their addictions, because they're so concerned with the addictions, that the people in their environment become less and less humanized, right? More and more objectified. When they're in the midst of their addictions, that they have they're narcissists, even if they were not narcissists before the addiction, right? So what you described is very accurate. Now we're going to go with individual number 3. So you and individual number 3 each have your luggage. You walk up to this guest house. You walk up to the reception desk, and you are each given your key. You go to your room. He goes to his room. But this individual stays a guest. He doesn't try to take over the staff, right? And he doesn't try to close himself off and minimize his interactions with the staff. He stays a guest at the same level that you are a guest. That he asks for things from the waiters and staff whenever he needs them, and he's not shy to do that. And whenever you ask for things from the waiters and staff, he doesn't judge you for it. He smiles.
Yeah.
Right. And interacts with you in a positive way so that you feel safe. So after spending a week or 2 weeks or a month in this environment, you get to a point where you start to feel safe that, oh, I need this thing. Let me ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
It feels comfortable and easy to do that because he also does the same thing. Whenever he needs something, he raises his hand. He says, and he asks for it. But the important thing is that your claim to this space, this emotional space between the two of you, your claim to the role of guest is exactly on the same as his claim to the role of guest. You feel like neither of you has a bigger stake or a less stake than the other. If we step away from the analogy of the guest house and we come back towards an emotional space between the two of you, the way that it shows up in the talking stage is that you exist comfortably in this talking stage. You don't feel punished for having any needs. You do not feel idolized for existing the way that the manipulator would do. You feel balanced.
Yes.
And the way that will translate into your nervous system is that your nervous system is calm.
Yes.
That whenever you think about this talking stage, this individual, and your future with this individual, it's the same way that you would think about moving into a nice home, right? Let's say that you're moving from one home into another home that is also very nice, and that you're going to be able to afford that home, and that everything is streamlined, right?
Yeah.
You look when you think of it, you look forward to it, but you're not super excited about it, and you're not dreading it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just a pleasant thing that you're looking forward to in your life.
Yeah.
And because of that, your nervous system is at steady state. You feel peaceful. You feel calm. And it gives you space within your mind to think about everything else that's going on within your life. And this talking stage is pleasant and it's calm. But because it's calm, it's not an overarching feature in your thought processes. So the identity of this individual, that third individual, is the genuine man. The man who simply wants to get married to you for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does all of that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Especially the thing that you had said about one feeding into the other, where it becomes circular in a healthy relationship. I feel like that was quite profound because, like, if you do have a circular loop and it just keeps going, you guys basically have perpetual energy. No one's draining the other.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just calm, and and I think people underestimate this, that whenever you are in a talking stage that is healthy and you feel calm, that it gives you space to also deal with everything else that's going on with your life. Now, the reason why I need to point that out is if we go back to the individual who's the manipulator, because you are dependent on the emotional space between the two of you, because you've become dependent on that reassurance and validation that he's giving to you in less and less quantities. It takes over your mind. So that you find that increasingly 60%, 70%, even 80% of your thoughts throughout the day are going to be on, what did I do wrong? What am I doing wrong? And just on that relationship in general.
Yeah.
And I can see it whenever a client comes to me and she tells me she's in a talking stage. I can see on her face during our first consultation that she's in one of these relationships, because of the nature of her speech, because of even she has gotten used to choosing her words carefully, not just with him, but with everyone.
Yeah.
And she's overthinking every sentence, because she's so preoccupied. Similarly, with for the first individual, the person, the gentleman who has avoidant insecurity. Now, it's important to understand that people who have avoidant attachment insecurities typically they're not manipulators. They don't want anything from you. They're not trying to control you. That's not, in fact, they don't want anything from you. That's what makes them avoidant. They have no desire to manipulate you or persuade you. It's just the question always comes to me, well, if a person is so uncomfortable with emotional intimacy, why do people who have avoidant attachment, insecurity, get into relationships? That's a fair question. It's because their need for emotional intimacy is less than yours, but it's not zero.
Yeah.
Right? So they have enough of a need for emotional intimacy to benefit from a relationship. But what they want to do is they want to control the amount of emotional intimacy required for them so that it's minimized.
Yeah,
right?
so they want to control how much of it they experience.
Yes, exactly. Like if you get into a point, like I've seen clients who are married to these individuals or who are these individuals themselves, and they'll describe their ideal marriage circumstances is, can we have separate bedrooms? Honestly, separate apartments would be great, but that's expensive. Can we have separate bedrooms? I'd like to take separate vacations from you. I'd like to just really minimize the opportunity for there to be too much connection between the two of us, because the connection is burdening and smothering to me. However, as a person in a new talking stage, and unknowingly the person that you're in a talking stage with has avoidant attachment, people who have avoidant attachment in the beginning will be somewhat comfortable with emotional intimacy, and that will diminish over time. So when you first meet them, if you don't know what you're looking for, if you don't know how to recognize them, it will feel like a normal talking stage. But I usually, again, around month 3 or month 2 to 3, and depending on how severe the attachment insecurity is, sometimes it's a lot earlier, they will start to pull away. Not in a manipulative sense. They're not trying to manipulate you. It's because the emotional intimacy has become so uncomfortable, they're now trying to regulate it and bring it down to a level they're comfortable with. Yeah. So they start to pull away more and more and more and more, right? And as they're pulling away, you as the person in the relationship with the avoidant, similarly, your thoughts are going to be preoccupied with, why are they pulling away? Because you're now attached to this person.
Why are you running?
Yeah, exactly. Because you're now emotionally invested in this relationship. Because this doesn't happen up until like several months. So by this point, you're invested emotionally, and so you're now wondering, what did I do wrong, right? Why are they pulling away? Is there something wrong with me? And of course, if you have core wounds around self-worth, if you have an underlying fear of abandonment, underlying fear of rejection, all of this is powerfully triggered.
Very powerful.
Even if you have if you're one of those people who has secure attachment, right? And you are very balanced in the way that you're able to attach to people so that you don't have fears of abandonment and rejection. This can create a fear of abandonment and rejection. So because one of the ways in which a person can develop attachment insecurity is through relationships, right? So you can now develop attachment insecurity depending on how severe the avoidance insecurity is, right? Yeah. So if they're fully abandoning you, you might now develop a fear of abandonment, right? And all of this creates a lot of anxiety. Your nervous system is very active, just like it's very active with the manipulator. And you're overthinking, and you now start behaving as if you have anxious attachment yourself, which is a lot of protest behavior. You're needing a lot more reassurance than you are used to, all of these things. Again, we'll get into that next quarter. I believe, January, February, March, April, May, June. So next quarter will start in July, In Shaa Allah. So hopefully all of that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so to summarize, the way to determine whether or not your relationship is healthy is how you feel within the emotional space between you and this new partner, right? If you feel, and the best indicator for gauging how you feel is not, a lot of us pay attention to, do I like this person? That becomes the overarching question. If you're definitely continue talking, continue considering, do I like this person? Do I want to be with this person? That's more in the realms of assessing the connection, right? That's wonderful. Definitely one of the things that needs to be assessed. But in assessing how you feel within the emotional space, try to not worry so much about whether or not you like them, and instead focus on how is your nervous system feeling within this space. Do you feel comfortable being yourself within this space and stretching out? Do you feel comfortable voicing emotional needs when you have emotional needs, right? Depending on what stage you are in this talking stage. Do you feel comfortable asking for a waiter, right? So it might be even easier to go back to the analogy of the guest house. You could feel comfortable asking for things when you need them.
Yeah.
Or do you feel like asking for things is too much of a burden? Or do you feel like this person might be meeting your needs before you even voice them? That's a problem.
Danger.
Right? So assessing how you feel in terms of your nervous system, in terms of your ability to be yourself within the emotional space between the two of you, that's how you assess whether or not the talking stage is healthy. And why is that important? Because only healthy talking stages translate eventually into lasting marriages.
So I just realized something as well, completely unrelated.
Okay.
But like in the spring,
yes,
when you're looking at something or you're reading something, it's not really much of a strain on your eyes. Same as in the fall, it's not a strain on your eyes. And in the winter, your eyes, it's nice and cool outside, right?
Yeah.
But in the summer, the heat might sometimes get oppressive. And so you're not going to be able to read everything all at once.
Yes.
And that's why they call it summarize, because they made it short.
Okay. I like that. That's a good joke. I might use it in the future, but I might miss it. It doesn't connect to what we were just saying.
You said summarize.
Oh, I did.
It works.
There you go. I'm like, there's definitely a connection. I'm just not seeing it. It must be my summarize. Okay. So that's everything.
That's everything.
If you have made it to this point of the podcast, Jazaa K'Allah Khayr, we truly appreciate you. If you are on one of the other podcast platforms that is not YouTube, we would really appreciate it if you would make your way onto YouTube and just subscribe to our channel. It's if you're aware of how algorithms work, that would help us out a lot. In fact, I'm going to be putting a link in the description for people who are on other podcast platforms, where you can go and do that easily, In Shaa Allah. If you are a young woman and you are in the process of looking for a spouse and you're not really sure what to talk about during the talking stage, feel free to download a copy of my compatibility guide. That's free. The link for it will be in the description below. Also, we haven't really talked about it, but our Tire Camel Challenge, our first iteration, was wonderful. We had so much fun. So many women were able to take a lot of steps towards tying their camel and finding their spouses, In Shaa Allah.
Is that right?
I'm going to start sharing some of those wonderful wins on our website and our Instagram. Our next iteration of the Tire Camel Challenge, if you would like to come and participate in order to help you get moving on finding a spouse, if you're serious about finding a spouse, that will be on June 22nd, and I will put the link for signing up for that in the description below. So that is everything. Jazaa K'Allah Khayr. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with us. We know how important that is. Stay safe wherever you are, and assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.